They monitored it for 6 months. A strange object, drifting toward our solar system. At first, they labeled it a rogue asteroid, but its trajectory was too clean, too intentional, like a line of code sent from deep space. Then, when it crossed Neptune's orbit, the data got weird. Spectrometers picked up radiation scars, older than our own sun. The object wasn't formed by gravity. It was rewritten. After 4.9 billion years of cosmic radiation mutating its structure like a living file, NASA renamed it 3I/ATLAS. And the most terrifying data point of all? It wasn't slowing down. It was accelerating straight toward us. As if something out there had finally decided it was time to send a message. And we were the target. When the 3I/ATLAS object crossed Saturn's orbit, we finally got a clean view. Adaptive aperture telescopes locked onto its rotation, and everyone in mission control froze. The infrared reflectivity wasn't random. It was patterned. Not fissures, not cracks, but circuitry. Perfect parallel lanes, repeating every 44.3 degrees around the body, like an ancient semiconductor the size of a small moon. The material wasn't crystalline anymore. It was instructed matter. One of the analysts whispered it first. This thing was built. And then, the generative models output the worst possible match. The circuits were still powered. Every 22 seconds, there was a pulse. Not random noise. Synchronization. The next phenomenon didn't show up in the optics department. It showed up in astrometry. Every 22 seconds, right on the pulse, background stars behind 3I/ATLAS shifted by micrometers. Not a camera glitch, not a refraction error. Space was bending. Imagine holding a sheet of paper, and something on the page keeps tapping. Pop, 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 until the ink jiggles. That's what the universe looked like. Except the paper was spacetime. And then came the nightmare detail. The lensing wasn't spherical. It had a symmetry, a perfect 44.3 degrees rotational axis, matching the circuit pattern we saw in episode 2. This wasn't a mass-bending spacetime. This was a machine doing it, on purpose. When they plotted the lensing amplitude over time, something broke their confidence instantly. The curve wasn't linear, it was exponential. Every 22 seconds, the space-time distortion increased by a factor of 1.00092. Tiny, harmless looking, until someone projected the curve forward. In just 72 hours, the distortion would be strong enough to knock satellites out of orbit. In 4 days, it would shear GPS. In 6, coastlines wouldn't line up with maps anymore. In 9, the Earth's own rotation timestamp might desync from reality by full seconds. That's not side effect. That's intention. Something inside 3I/ATLAS was pushing harder, every single pulse, like a machine spinning up, for something we were never supposed to witness. The Air Force Radar Division wasn't even supposed to be in this investigation. They were pulled in only because the distortion vector kept drifting off the astronomical model. But when they did the full Earth frame correlation, every screen in the room went silent. The 44.3 degree rotational axis of the lensing field wasn't random spin. It was alignment. The microlensing wasn't fanning out equally. It was pointing. Not at the planet, not at the surface. Right through the mantle, straight toward the geocenter. Like the machine was locking coordinates. As if the core of Earth was the endpoint of a navigation route. And 3I/ATLAS was approaching the docking port. Whatever this object wants, it didn't come here to observe. It came home. It wasn't the satellites that confirmed it first. It was the buoys. South Atlantic, coordinates near the mid-ocean ridge. The sea level began rising and dropping every 22 seconds. Not like a wave set, not like a tide, like a breath. Up, down, up, down. The amplitude was tiny, only a few millimeters, but perfectly synchronized with the pulse from 3I/ATLAS. Researchers fed the buoy data into harmonic analysis, and the algorithm spit out a pattern nobody had the courage to say out loud. The ocean wasn't responding to gravity. It was responding to instruction, as if the water wasn't just a liquid, but a medium in a larger machine that spans both space and Earth itself. The Brazilian Navy wasn't trying to join the investigation. They were running a routine patrol, an anti-sub exercise near the South Atlantic anomaly. But at 3:12 UTC, their sonar operator froze. Something massive was down there. Not metal, not rock. A geometry, a lattice. Smooth angles, exact right-angled junctions. The kind nature doesn't build under pressure and salt water. And every 22 seconds, it responded to the pulse from 3I/ATLAS with a counterpulse. Not echo, handshake. Ocean above, breathing. Atlas overhead, bending spacetime. Deep structure, synchronizing. That's a closed loop. Earth isn't the receiver in this system. Earth might be the other half of the device. The breakthrough came from a mathematician, not from astronomy. She plotted the pulse phase difference between 3I/ATLAS and the lattice under the South Atlantic, and she recognized the pattern instantly. It wasn't physics, it wasn't geology, it was cryptography. The 22-second pulses were not signals, they were keys. Think of two devices performing a handshake before they open an encrypted channel, like a VPN, but on a cosmic scale. A TLAS above, lattice below, both sending synchronized hash blocks, slowly matching checksum, until a secure channel can be unlocked. The ocean wasn't reacting to gravity, it was reacting to a protocol. And when the key exchange completes, something is going to open. The handshake finished at 4:19:22 UTC. No explosion, no alien voice, just silence. And then, pressure spike. The Brazilian sonar maps glitched like someone sliced reality under the hull. The lattice below the South Atlantic didn't stay silent anymore. It activated. And the seafloor? Not lava, not sediment, but a perfect geometric seam. Opened. Water didn't boil. It vented upward, straight, like a column. No chaos, just precision, as if the ocean wasn't reacting, but obeying an internal command. The Earth wasn't under attack. The Earth was booting up. And Atlas wasn't the intruder. It was the activation key, coming back to finish its job. Naval hydrophones picked up the shift first. The water column wasn't just venting anymore. The flow reversed. It started pulling. Microns at first, then centimeters. And the math was brutal. The lattice under the Atlantic wasn't releasing energy. It was harvesting it. Tidal momentum, inverse pressure gradients, thermohaline currents, all the chaotic fluid dynamics of the ocean, every crash of a wave, every swirl of a current, every heartbeat of the sea was being funneled downward, converted, like the ocean wasn't a liquid, but a spinning induction coil the size of a hemisphere. The Earth wasn't reacting to Atlas. Earth was designed to be the power supply, and now the generator just came online. The historians were the last department anyone expected to join the briefing. But they walked into mission control with a single glass slide, carbon-dated charcoal from a cave in Namibia, 134,000 years old, etched by hand. And the symbol on it matched the 44.3-degree rotational geometry of Atlas. The room stopped breathing. This wasn't a celestial accident. Some civilization, was already here. Long before Homo sapiens had language, they had infrastructure. And Atlas isn't arriving for the first time. It's returning. What we call humanity might not be the story's hero. We might just be the species that accidentally woke up the machine. When the rightful operators finally came back, it wasn't in stone. It wasn't in artifacts. It was hidden in biology. A marine genomics lab in Woods Hole ran a reanalysis of baseline DNA from Pelagia noctiluca, the mauve stinger jellyfish, because its migration pattern shifted right after the ATLAS pulses started. They weren't looking for correlation, but they found a sequence, a 191 base pair cluster. Not random, not mutation, a coded lattice, matching the same 44.3 degrees rotational symmetry from the Atlas circuitry. The conclusion was grotesque. The pattern wasn't in the jellyfish to help the jellyfish. It was metadata, a biological QR code left behind by whoever engineered this world 134,000 years before us. And the final punchline the lab didn't want to say aloud: jellyfish never evolved to pulse. They were tuned to pulse as part of the system. The Uruguay rescue team didn't even know what they filmed. They were just recovering a diver, mild hypoxia, nothing dramatic. But when they reviewed the body cam footage later that night, the medic froze. The diver's heart rate, visible on the portable ECG pad, was not random, not stress pattern. It was locking. One peak every 22 seconds. Perfect. Like the man's cardiovascular system was waiting for a command. And when they checked the timestamp, that heartbeat shift started exactly when the South Atlantic lattice vent reversed direction. The sea was the coil. The core was the receiver. But the human heart, that was the interface. We aren't just living on the device. We might be part of the control system,